Under the silver eye of the moon, 4 women gather. Maris, Netta, Mystical, and Nana stand before the grand fountain. The moment of lunar convergence draws near, and the air trembles with ancient promise. But from the peace, chaos erupts. 2 strangers leap from the shadows with teeth flashing and hearts dark. Nana and Mystical fall beneath the assault as the water of the ground fountain begins to glow. Andre arrives. His body twists, his soul ignites. The wolf within awakens. With a roar and a flash of claws, he drives the attackers into the night. The 4 women sit on the 4 corners as Andre guards nearby. They speak the words Friday Bear delivered to them at the harvest dance. Every flaw has a fear, and every fear has a name. Isolation, stagnation, oppression, deletion. They fall, not in fear but in fate, into a chamber untouched by time. No windows, no doors, only light and 2 information signs. The first sign speaks of the flows, female leaders of wisdom. They're not born arcane. Once they were revered. Their counsels shaped the seasons. Someone had to face the sign. The second sign speaks of Echo, the fabled cursed nymph, the whisperer of warnings, the voice between worlds. She can be summoned but only by those who are chosen. Echo's tale lingers in the chamber. Cursed to repeat the words of others, she loved narcissists who loved only himself. Rejected and heartbroken, she faded until only her voice remained. And that voice lives on here. Call her name and she may answer. The 4 stand in a circle and call her name. Echo! And echo it does. The nymph appears as light floods the chamber. Her voice rings out. Beware, for the shadows grow long and the light falters. Heed the signs of the coming storm. Holly Claus wears a crown of silence. The soon-to-be former flaws are not guardians, but corrupted echoes of fear. Don't go with the flows anymore. Don't go with the flows anymore. The words hung heavy in the air and echoes throughout the chamber. Maris, Netta, Nana, and Mystical surround the new presence in the room. Don't go with the flows anymore. The words reverberate, echoing into oblivion, bouncing against the chamber walls like a bouncy ball unmoored. Maris grasped the truth. The grimoire bore flaw where flow should reign. Its pages lay hollow, as though the ink was younger than the chamber itself. The sign bore the same insult, a wound carved into stone. As Echo did odd things, like conjure candles and dust to statues, the chosen ones studied the signs and grimoire for any more information. Thinking she was just a mirage, an echo of times past, none of the chosen ones noticed when Echo transported out of the chamber, not knowing that the grand fountain had been moved to Simmermore Park. A lot had changed since her imprisonment. The heirs to the Flow thrones noticed Echo was gone and assumed she was just an illusion that had run its course. When Echo manifests in the park, she is already in shock because she does not recognize the area. She notices a sleeping werewolf nearby and tries to sneak by. Sir appeared suddenly, heading towards the public restroom. Echo feigned interest in watering plants, pretending to be a casual visitor. Sir dismissed her presence, forgetting it was the dead of night. Mom- Moments after Sir vanished inside, the 2 great thugs from earlier emerged from the shadows. They seized Echo and led her away. At Haunted Manor, the Thanatos family gathered once more. The gray duo deposited Echo at the threshold, sending a warning to the hosts: do not disturb the group. Meanwhile, back at Simmermore Park, The chosen ones gathered in uneasy silence. They tried to piece together who had struck them down before they could enter the chamber and decipher Echo's message. Shadows lingered on the fountain's edge, and every rustle of leaves felt like a clue. Two cloaked females in gray moved silently through the night, carrying Echo like a reluctant offering. The gates of Haunted Manor creak open, shadows stretching across the courtyard. Without a word, they deliver her into the hands of the Thanatos family. The door slams shut, seeming to seal Echo's fate inside. After their meal, the Thanatos family descend to the basement to feast on leftovers from the Halloween harvest dance. The Thanatos family, distracted by the ambiance and arguments over who should guard Echo, leave her momentarily unattended. Accusations, laughter, clinking glasses all rise from the basement, while upstairs Echo edges towards the back door. The shadows of Haunted Manor seem to lean in, urging her onward. A draft rattles the hinges, and in the confusion she slips outside, heart pounding, the night air heavy with the scent of damp earth and forgotten graves. Echo pauses to feed the ravenous cowplant. There she encounters Thursday, who guides her towards the Claws compound, one of several properties they own. What seemed like an eternity later, Echo approaches the Claws compound, knocking at the front door carved with icy runes with no reply. Determined, she circles to the back, snow crunching underfoot. A sudden snort breaks the silence as Rudolph has spotted her. His antlers catch the moonlight as he calls out, summoning Marcy Darky, the Claws' real estate agent and assistant. Marcy emerges briskly, heels clicking, her expression caught between annoyance and curiosity. The compound, once silent, now stirs with tension at Echo's presence. Miss Marcy phones the Claus couple to announce Echo's arrival. They did not recognize the name but promised to appear shortly to the upstairs fireplace. The Claus couple appear but fall instantly into a trance. They do not acknowledge Echo's existence. She collapses in despair. Marcy escorts Echo back downstairs, where they cross paths with Dasher. His presence is brisk, his eyes sharp with urgency. Dasher reveals that a letter addressed to Echo arrived while they were upstairs. Dasher hands Echo a parchment. The seal dissolves into mist, words glowing. Echo, this letter will always find you. The only safe place now is the top moat house. I'll meet you there. Hera. The script flickers like candlelight. Echo feels its urgency as well as a relief in an unseen ally. Marcy Darky, visibly irritated, snatches a scrap of paper from her ledger. With quick, jagged strokes, she sketches the route and presses the paper into Echo's hand, muttering about troublesome visitors and enchanted nonsense. Rudolph, more sympathetic, bows his head and wishes her safe passage. Echo, trembling but resolute, thanks them all. She steps into the night once more, clutching the directions, the letter's glow still lingering in her mind. After being kidnapped and escaping, Echo seeks out the Claws compound. Yet she finds herself unseen, as if invisible, until a mysterious note appears in her hand, guiding her towards Moat House. On the second floor, Echo encounters Mystical. With a sly smile, Mystical blocks her path and summons Dean Hera Nix, who is already on site, preparing for an incoming guest. Dean Nix retrieves a single file from the cabinet and invites Echo into the party room for refreshments and sandwiches, her tone both hospitable and unsettling. As soon as the door closed behind Hera Nix and Echo, Mystical quickly grabbed the phone off the desk and dialed up her friends at Simmermore University. Netta, Nana, and Maris were quickly on their way to Moat House. None of them could believe that Echo was walking around, thinking her only to be an echo in a chamber. Arriving at Moat House, they find Dee Nix alone in the party room, blowing on the bubblers and swaying to magical tunes. After polite small talk, she excuses herself and drifts downstairs. Netta, Nana, and Maris shadow Dean Nix as she busies herself with groundskeeping. She flatly denies Echo's presence, her words clipped and rehearsed. While the dean is distracted, Mystical films the second floor, hoping to capture clues about Echo's fate. The footage hums with spectral static. The group agrees to reconvene at Simmermore Park, where they will review the video together with Scout and the guys. What they did not know is Dean Nix had drugged Echo with a beverage laced with a sedative. Echo is transported back to Haunted Manor, returned to the custody of the Thanatos family. Yet, Echo escapes once more by leaping up suddenly and conjuring a magic door that fractures reality and transports her away. Thursday reclined with quiet amusement as chaos rippled through her uninvited house guests. To her, every stumble and clash felt like karmic justice unfolding in real time. At Simmermore Park, the group huddles around Mystical's recording. The footage stutters with spectral static. Echo's image glimmers in mirrors and glass panes, yet the room itself remains empty. Scout leans forward, voice steady. She walks between realms, but she's no illusion. She is real. After escaping the clutches of Dean Nix and the Thanatos family, Echo slipped back to the Claw's compound as a sanctuary where she could remain unseen. She curled into the reindeer shelter, invisible among the hay. It was prickly, but far kinder than the cold stone chamber she had been trapped in for the last 1,000 years. Meanwhile, the gang gathered at Simmermore Park. Professor Flora busied herself with teaching winter break enchantments, coaxing herbs to bloom in frozen soil, and teaching campfire spells that sparked warmth against the snow. During a lull, Nana went to fetch the mail. Instead, she encountered a snowman shimmering with frost and wonder named Snowbird Frostbite. "You don't know me, but I know you," he intoned. "The magical realms need your help. The Snow Queen's palace awaits. A mission only you and your friends can complete." Snowbird's voice deepened, echoing like cracking ice. "The thrones of the flow stand empty, their sigils shattered, the wisdom drowned in fear. Now the four must choose, repeat the fall or rise beyond it." He pressed a slip of paper into Nana's hand containing a phone number and vanished into the drifting snow. On her way to the park phone, Nana passed Mystical, who was communing with the singing salmon for inspiration. She dialed discreetly and received instructions. Meet at the public park for their ride. Discretion was vital. Most of the crew remained occupied with Professor Flora's lessons. Only Sir and Mystical could be summoned for the journey. At the park, a magic sleigh awaited, barely large enough for the three. They squeezed inside, and as the runners scraped the frost, the world swirled and dissolved around them. The sleigh landed on Claw's Island. Sir rubbed his hands at the campfire. This doesn't look like an ice castle, but it's chilly enough." Nana spotted Snowbird and hurried to demand answers. Snowbird explained. "The Ice Queen and Santa share the sleigh. Santa borrows it only at Christmas time. He needed a ride to his workshop first." Nana groaned. "Where will he fit?" Santa appeared, cheerfully oblivious, as he insisted that they wait while he finished watching the latest episode of Ho Ho Ho's. "Make yourselves at home," he said, settling deeper into his chair. Mystical fled upstairs from the noise, setting up her camera to record a message for her subscribers. As she began, she saw a suspicious notification pop up on the Claw's computer. It was an email from Miss Marcy, the Claw's personal assistant. She confessed to hallucinations of a pink-haired nymph named Echo and begged for a vacation. Mystical knew time was short. She quickly documented the room, capturing the computer screen and Miss Marcy's words to examine closer later. Echo appears to be a mystery to be solved. Santa finally finished his show and hollered for Nana, Sir, and Mystical. They squeezed into the sleigh beside him, somehow fitting by enchantment. Aunt Holly stayed behind, enjoying a beach picnic as the sleigh whisked them away. The sleigh rattled to a halt before a snow-dusted workshop, glowing with warm light. The group had arrived at Santa's workshop at last. "There's no way in Hades that can keep me from seeing this place," Mystical cried, bounding after Santa with the passion of a toddler. She slipped in uninvited. Her eyes darted across conveyor belts, toy parts, and the endless stream of letters pouring in for Santa. Meanwhile, Santa settled in comfortably by the fireplace, as if nothing could disturb his holiday routine. Sir approached with quiet reverence, wrapping Santa in a grateful hug. "Thank you for all the gifts through the years," he whispered, preparing himself to leave. Mystical runs up. "I want a hug too, Santa." "Of course, ho, ho, ho," as he reached out and hugged her a little too tight, a little too long. As Mystical pulled back, Santa slipped a card with a phone number in her hand. He gave her a wink and grabbed her butt as she turned to leave. Mystical's smile dimmed like a star behind storm clouds. Shaken by what had been done to her, she beckoned Nana and Sir towards the enchanted sleigh, urging them to continue their journey to the Ice Queen's palace. The sleigh finally manifested at the palace, a crystalline fortress shimmering like starlight. They stood in awe of its frozen majesty. However, they did not receive the welcome they were expecting. The halls were silent and empty. Sir Mystical lingered by the sleigh while Nana ventured inside to seek their host, her voice echoing through the icy realm and carried off by the wind. Queen Aurora Borealis appeared, apologizing for the lack of welcome. Believing she'd been stood up, she'd already dined, dismissed her staff, and retired to the palace for the night. Nana explained their detour with Santa, and Aurora, softening, invited them in from the cold. On her way back to fetch Mystical and Sir, Nana paused to jot notes for her growing grimoire, determined to preserve every detail of their journey. Aurora's tone grew grave. She warned Nana not to trust the senior flows, for corruption had seeped into their ranks. The crew pressed for answers, but Aurora's knowledge was as lacking as her hospitality. Then, with sudden intimacy, Aurora embraced Sir. "You'll find more answers in Bloomberg," she whispered, slipping a card into his pocket. "Call me." Her wink carried both promise and danger. Releasing him, Aurora suddenly snapped into a different personality. "I'm going to bed. See yourselves out." With a wave of her hand, she vanished into the palace shadows. The crew returned to the sleigh bound for Simmermore Park to rest and restore their inspiration. After Professor Flora left, the group regrouped to compare notes. Scout finally voiced the obvious. "What's the deal with Echo? I thought she faded ages ago." With that hanging in the air, they broke to rest, change, and prepare for the next leg of their journey. Nana's patience was wearing thin. She had traveled far and wide with her friends, collecting a lot of questions, but very few answers. Nana caught Snowbird lurking by Simmermore Park again and demanded answers. He knew little, but he did know where Echo had gone. Before she could press him, Snowbird announced they had been summoned to Plumeburg by Carol Claus, then did a quick celebratory jig and shuffled off, while the other members of the crew elected to sleep in. Nana and Sir went to the public park to meet with Peeper and their ride to Plumeburg. Peeper gave Nana a list of Plumeburg instructions. Nana was stunned to discover that Carol was Aunt Holly's identical twin. Holly commanded the hearth magic, Carol presided over the winter rites. They were two halves of the same Claus enchantment. Peeper quietly warned Nana and Sir that Aunt Carol's personality was nothing like Holly's. A moment later, Peeper paused to give Sir an unexpectedly long, warm hug before sweeping off on her way. As they made their way towards the sleigh, Nana and Sir ran into Cam Ham, who was busy scouting locations and potential contestants for the next episode of the hit show Sim Chase. After a quick exchange of greetings and gossip, Nana and Sir climbed into the sleigh, and soon they were on their way. Without delay, they manifested in Plumeburg, a town steeped in seasonal mystery. But there was an unexpected twist. Mystical was sitting in the sleigh in her pajamas when they arrived. Mystical was decidedly not pleased to arrive in a snow-soaked town while shivering in her pajamas, and she immediately took out her frustration out on Nana, who couldn't stop laughing at the whole situation. All the commotion drew in a local spirit named Phil. While Mystical dissolved into tears, Sir spoke with Phil, hoping for answers, while Nana hurried to Aunt Carol's house to find something warm for Mystical to wear and to figure out why she'd been yanked from her slumber in the first place. Aunt Carol! The woman standing there stiffened as if struck by a cold draft. Lady Carol, she corrected, voice crisp enough to frost glass. I do not answer to anything else. Nana blinked, taken aback. Aunt Carol made Aunt Holly seem friendly and warm. On her way to gather the others, Nana was stopped by a breathless Peeper. I forgot to tell you, don't call her anything except Lady Carol, I know. Nana didn't even slow down as she continued towards her friends. Mystical has to take a shower before she can change, both by her own standards and Lady Carol's insistence. Mystical is given a pair of Lady Carol's pajamas to wear, while Peeper is given the order to craft Mystical a more appropriate outfit. Aunt Carol excused herself to tend to some Christmas business, but told the crew to make themselves at home. Of course, they snooped through the house with youthful curiosity and mischief. They poked and prodded through every inch of every private aspect of the dwelling. Nana was in the process of trying on clothes in one of the closets when she ran across an old mystical-looking book. She pulled it out as they all inspected it. The book was titled Echo Observed, a field journal of the Claus sisters. It was a book binding together the notes that Carol and Holly Claus had written in the time Echo was last. Written nearly a millennia ago, the journal seems to document Echo's return from a disembodied voice to a physical form. Carol's journal entries are interrupted by Holly's notes and doodles, filling the margins like a frame. Only when both layers are read together does the real story seem to emerge. The trio was so absorbed in their journal secrets that Peeper's arrival with Mystical's new outfit felt like a spell breaking. While Peeper busied herself with Mystical's fittings, Nana quickly and quietly tucked the journal deep into her coat unseen. Tired from the day's travels and discoveries, they decided to turn in for the night. There would be plenty to discuss with Netta and Maris once they were back at the university. For now, as guests of Carol Claus, they headed to bed. Meanwhile, Snowbird's investigation leads him to the Claus compound on Simmermore Mountain. Overjoyed to finally find her, Snowbird broke into a celebratory dance, and Echo, having no idea why they were celebrating, happily joined in. After Snowbird left, Echo returned to Miss Marcy just as she was able to get herself unstuck from the frozen fountain after Echo had tricked her into licking it. As Santa and Holly could not help her, and she feared leaving the stranger alone on the property, Miss Marcy finally completely breaks down with a sore tongue and cries on Echo's shoulder. Miss Marcy had surrendered to the reality that Echo did indeed exist, even if Holly and Santa could not see her and instantly forget any time her name was mentioned. They worked together to get the compound ready for company, since both Santa and Holly would be gone delivering Christmas.